The purpose of today's talk is really to kind of discuss where our wing has been in 2013. Tomorrow at the general session, we'll review our goals and objectives for 2014, and I'll tell you where we were, the things that we were able to accomplish, the things that we're still working on, and add a few things to our goals and objectives for fiscal 14. So let's just go ahead and get started. The numbers that I'm going to share with you today are pretty close to being year-end numbers, but unfortunately when I had to put the presentation together it was not quite at year-end, so the numbers may be off just a little bit. So if there may be a slight variance in some of them. But before talking about our membership and how we fared last year, I'd like to give you a little bit of perspective on the California wing. Yes, you know, we are the second largest wing in the nation behind the Florida wing, only by about 400 members. But although we may be the second largest wing in membership, we by far are the busiest wing in the nation. I'd like to ask Stacy and Terry to please stand up. The California wing is fortunate enough to have both Stacy and Terry guarding our financial health and well-being. Because of the government shutdown, they are not here in an official capacity, but are here as guests of the California wing. So thank you for coming. It is their hard work that has allowed us to process 11,000 reimbursement claims a year, with the nearest wing behind us at 8,000. So that gives you an idea of how busy of a wing we are. With almost 1,700 cadets and seniors in both those categories, so almost 3,600 members, but with almost 1,700 in both categories, it makes our cadet program and our senior program larger than 45 other wings. And we are actually, the California wing itself is actually larger than the Rocky Mountain region. So I actually have a few groups that are bigger than some wings. So you know, Colonel Myrick pointed out last night that we may be the California wing, but we have some groups that are wings unto themselves. Now, while our overall membership has changed less than 100 members this year, we have seen a decrease in our senior membership. This is kind of following that national trend that Colonel Myrick had pointed out a little while ago. And we are looking into those issues of not recruiting, but retention. But what we did see is that our cadet program membership is remaining strong with a slight increase over last year. The interesting part about that cadet retention is that it reversed the trend that we saw a couple years ago, where we were losing a lot more cadets than we were gaining. So last year we recruited fewer cadets into the program, but we retained more of them, and they're staying in the program longer. While our overall membership in the senior program dropped by 91 members, we recruited almost 4 times as many members as we did in 2012, which again follows the trend that Colonel Myrick talked about a little earlier. The disturbing trend is that over 25% of the members that we have lost them that has 4 years or less. So one of the goals and objectives that we had for 2012, 2013, that we still have to work on is that retention program and that mentoring program to keep those senior members in the program. This slide gives us some perspective on our senior program development, and a similar slide will be shown for the cadet program in a little while. Last year, as I pointed out, over 60% of our senior members have been with us for 5 years or more, but less than 15% have risen beyond level 3. And we still need to work more to bring our senior members into the higher end of our senior development program. Safety. Our safety program is led by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Watkins. Where's Mike? And I want to, Mike, thank you very much. This year, we have continued to see a shift in the safety philosophy and culture within the organization. In 2012, we began to see safety mishaps with an eye, we began to view them with an eye more towards the corporate world than we were in CAP, with an eye towards prevention and not the punitive side of whenever you got it, when you had a safety incident, we were punishing you because you did a bad thing. So when we moved away from that punitive nature, we started to see some of our numbers increase. Did they actually increase, or was, because the punitive side was diminished or removed, did we just see an increased level of reporting of incidents that we were always having? So we have seen an increase a bit in the last year, as you can see from 1 year to the next, almost 19.5% increase. The majority of that, obviously in the cadet programs, we've seen a substantial decrease in the senior program, but I am pleased to say that with those injuries primarily are minor. We didn't have any major injuries this last year, so a lot of these are cuts and bruises, abrasions, cadet falling down, fainting during standing in formation that are usually closed prior to even beginning the investigation process. They're closed by national headquarters, so that we haven't had any major incidents. So Mike, thank you for that. Aircraft incidents continue to stay at a high level. We had no major incidents with aircraft this year, bar one, where we had a pretty substantial aircraft mishap in flight. Thankfully, there were no injuries, but the majority of the issues with aircraft this year have all been minor maintenance issues, alternators and other in-flight issues that had to be reported as such, but that were not pilot or crew related. Cadet programs. In the last year, we've seen a major change in our cadet programs leadership. Shortly after I took over the wing, I had asked Colonel Nelson to step in and help us with the cadet program, but she did so with a caveat that she would only do it for a year. So about this time last year, we were getting our heads together and saying, where are we going to go to find the next director of cadet programs? And we didn't have to look very far. At that time, Major Dave Goody had a very successful tenure as our director of aerospace education. So we went to him and we bribed him. I actually took him to my room and plied him with liquor. And he actually agreed at the conference last year to take on that role and has done an outstanding job. So thank you, Dave. Where are you? He's back there. Thank you. Our cadet program has stayed about the same size as it was membership-wise year to year, growing a little over 1%, but as I said before, we are retaining more of our existing cadets. Where we've seen a sizable percent increase, 16%, is in the retention of those cadets in the program 3 years or more. And this is just outstanding. One of the 2013 goals and objectives was to increase the size and strength of our cadet officer corps by 10%. I'm pleased to say that we not only achieved that goal, but we blew it out of the water. The number that we wanted represented about an additional 15 officers to our officer corps, and we brought in 27. So we went up, we increased our officer corps size by almost 18%. Our encampment this year was commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Jim Jenkins and Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Qatar. We again had a single wing encampment, meaning we were the host wing. In years past, we had done some joint encampments with Nevada Wing, but this was a single encampment. We were again maxed out with 230 basic cadets, 17 more than in 2012, 52 on cadet staff, and 69 on the senior staff. We saw something a little while ago on O-rides, and I want to point out that for encampment, we did 14 of our 29 corporate aircraft came to San Luis Obispo for encampment O-rides, and we all but took over the San Luis Obispo Airport. Through the leadership of Colonels Virginia Nelson and Larry Myrick, over 30 senior members helped 219 cadets receive their O-rides at encampment. And as you can see, a good time was had by all. You know, it was funny. I made a call to everybody for pictures, and the person who sent me that photo says, "This is a great photo, but you can't use it." And I said, you know what? Colonel Bishop will be there, and if he doesn't think I should have used it, he'll yell at me, but I had to use it. I really think that's a great picture. On any given weekend, we can be assured that a cadet activity is going on somewhere in the wing. And as you can see, California Wing cadets are constantly involved in ring, region, and national activities and are regularly recognized for their outstanding achievements. Over 80 more cadets this year attended the Cadet Programs Conference in February. This is a California Wing original program that I keep being told may soon someday be replicated at the national level, but it is one that we are very, very proud of. We had over 300 cadets. 334 cadets at our CPC in February. With 92 cadets applying for National Cadet Special Activities in 2013, it made the selection process extremely competitive. Nonetheless, we slotted 52 for participation, and for the first time in 8 years, the California Wing hosted a special activity with the RC Aircraft Academy in Dublin, which was very, very successful. An accomplishment that I am extremely proud of is the fact that we had so many units that received the Quality Cadet Unit Award. In 2012, the California Wing had 9, which was good, don't get me wrong, but in 2013 we had 22, tying the Florida Wing for the most in the nation. Every group was represented by at least one squadron that received the Quality Unit Award, and Colonel Jay, every one of his cadet and composite units received the Quality Unit Award in Group 1. Our third annual Ultimate Bear and Wings Challenge was a fun way for our cadets to compete with one another, both physically and academically. 26 of our squadrons participated in Wreaths Across America, which allowed for fundraising opportunity while recognizing our fallen veterans during the holiday season. And as Colonel Myrick pointed out, if you ever have the opportunity to see this at the Arlington National Cemetery, it is really something to see. If you wanted to see it, I would recommend you do it in the holiday season of 2014, because it is the goal of CAP and the goal of Wreaths Across America to place a wreath on every grave at Arlington National Cemetery for their 150th anniversary next year. That's over 220,000 wreaths. So quite a daunting task, and they'll need everybody's help. Cadets continued to participate in emergency services, and actually a few hosted some cadet-oriented search and rescue exercises. And we had an impromptu meeting last night of the group commanders and our operations team, and we really want to bring more of our cadets into ES because they really are and can be a force multiplier. The California Wing Color Guard and Drill Team competition again all but dominated the national competition in Dayton. As you can see, first of all, we had a cadet. We had our first drill and ceremony school last year, where we worked very hard and close with all the groups. We actually had group representation from all the groups at the wing competition, and I really truly believe that drill and ceremony school paid off, because we placed second on the color guard with Squadron 47, which was not only the California Wing but the Pacific Region winners, and a combined Group 5 team won the third place nationally for the drill team. Our Spots Awards. Last year, we had the privilege of presenting a Spots Award to one of our deserving cadets, and Nicholas Chung, and that actually began a trend within our wing. We actually presented 5 more Spots Awards earlier this year, from this time last year till now, which is somewhat unprecedented. We actually had the honor of presenting 4 at the banquet for the Cadet Programs Conference in February, which you see there on the right, and then at Colonel Myrick's change of command here in Santa Maria in June, we actually presented our 5th to Cadet Colonel Josh Lanier. We also have at least 6 more that are in the pipeline for the upcoming year, 2 that'll be testing within the next month or 2. Emergency services, and this kind of goes along with what Colonel Myrick had talked about with the decrease in operations due to funding. As you can see, our search and rescue sorties were off about 23%, almost 24%. I don't think that is a surprise to those of you who are involved in ES, and unfortunately it is a trend that has continued to decrease year to year. SAR-DR has actually dropped to our number 4 mission, and, or I'm sorry, search and rescue has dropped to our number 4 mission. Disaster relief and airborne photography has leaped over it to become our number 1 mission, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Our A hours were off about 14%, so our Air Force funded missions were off about 14%. What I really liked, and I've pushed very hard for our B hours to go up, while our C hours were dropping. We really want our pilots to be flying their proficiency flying under B symbols for improved and increased insurance coverage, and the pilots and the group commanders have responded, and I really like the fact that that trend has changed. Unfortunately, we did see a drop in our O-rides, but it wasn't for, not for trying. It was mainly from a budgetary perspective. We spent every dime that was given to us. I think our only problem was we didn't spend it fast enough so we could ask for more money. But we did spend everything we had, and we even had to go back and ask for a few dollars here or there at the end. So I want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Crum for being the keeper of those funds. We always seem to get Jim's emails telling us when we can start and stop those cadet O flights, so thank you, Colonel Crum. The number at the bottom, 95.2%. Last year we were at 106% of our usage, which meant that we, as a fleet, as an aircraft fleet, we had flown more on average than our 200 hours. This year we didn't make it. And I think it's part and parcel as to some of the budgetary issues. I've talked to Colonel Richmond, and we're going to do a better job this next year of spreading the wealth on our aircraft fleet usage. We have some really high flyers out there, our G1000 aircraft. We have some that flew well over 300 hours, and we have some of our older round dial aircraft that weren't flying enough. So be advised, we are going to be moving aircraft around this next year to hopefully spread the wealth of that usage out across the fleet. Colonel Richmond, Major Blank, and Captain Tolga Tarhan have worked over the last year, really worked very hard to keep our operations training tempo as high as we could under the conditions, the budgetary conditions that we had. Every group conducted at least 2 search and rescue exercises, and the pilot and aircraft crew, schools and clinics were able to bring on even more proficiency than in years past. One point that I am very, very proud of, as I pointed out earlier, was that our operations evaluation that was held in May, which was based out of Riverside, but included everyone within the state of California, both north and south, as well as also brought in folks. We had a dual exercise with Nevada. We received a score of outstanding, which is the highest possible score, which again placed us in the top 5% of the nation. So Mitch and Tolga, thank you very, very much. This kind of just gives you a little bit of an extension to some of the information that Colonel Myrick had shared with you nationally. Gives you a little bit of idea of where we're at and fit into some of those numbers. I'll direct you down to where it says resources, 29 search and rescue DR aircraft. We were fortunate enough in the last year to be plussed up 2 aircraft, so we received 2 brand new G1000 aircraft, a 206 and a 182. In the next year, we're probably going to lose 2 aircraft. Which is not a great thing, but we got plussed up 2. We'll lose 2, so at the end, we're really at a net zero. So we're doing very, very well. The 2 that we're going to lose are not the newer aircraft that we brought into the fleet. So the fact that we've brought in 2 new aircraft really keeps our aircraft, the average age of our aircraft, relatively low. Operational vehicles, we have 31. It was mentioned earlier that Major Capan has been instrumental in helping to get rid of a lot of those vehicles, so we really appreciate that, and helped pave the way for 3 more that are coming on the year-end buy, a van and 2 trucks. And the other assets, we are working very hard to not only maintain them, but get the old stuff out, and so we can get some new stuff when our funding comes back, hopefully from the state of California. So I'd like to ask Colonel Richmond to please come forward. The California Wing is honored to have received the Pacific Region Emergency Services Mission Award, and I'd like to have him come up. Now, in the operations room at Wing Headquarters, there is a whole wall that has a number of these on there, so Mitch will find a wedging this new one in there as well. So, thank you. Aerospace education. In 2012, the California Wing was recognized nationally for having the best aerospace education program in the nation. And we were very proud when we went to, where did we go in 2012? Baltimore. And we received that honor. Shortly after that, we made a change in our leadership. And as I mentioned before, Major Goody shifted over to cadet programs, and Captain, then now Major Tom Scott, joined on as our Director of AE. And Major Scott and his team have done a fantastic job in the last year, both internally and externally, to keep our program strong. As we all know, our AE program and our cadet program is very closely aligned. Our program has remained extremely strong. We have 36 members that attended the Pacific Region AEO school. 112 new members have achieved the Jaeger Award. How many people have taken the Jaeger Award? Just see a show of hands. It's interesting, and when you look on the national website, in the commander's dashboard, and national headquarters believes that 12% of a wing is outstanding for members having taken the Jaeger Award. 43% in the California Wing has done it. We had bureau nominations in all of our categories, and because of Major Scott's efforts, 100% of our units reported all their AE activities in 2013. Unfortunately, I just truly do not believe that we're getting accurate counts there. Although they all reported, I've talked to so many people this weekend, and they say, well, we're doing this and we're doing that, but we just don't see those activities, unfortunately, always getting reflected on the annual report or the quarterly reports. So we really need to work hard to make sure that your units' hard work in AE is being documented. Now, about 3 or 4 years ago, the California Wing underwent a compliance inspection, and we got a marginally successful in AE. And in 3 years, 3 years after that, we, in 2012, got the national award, demonstrating that we were the absolute best AE program in the nation. I'm pleased to say that we repeated it again last year, or this year. So for 2 years in a row, we have now been recognized as having the best AE program in the country. I'd like to ask Major Scott to come up and receive that award. We've done such a good job. They're now changing the metrics. They're moving the goalpost on us because we've done so well. So he's got his work cut out for him to get the trifecta. Congressional Gold Medal. We've all been working extremely hard, and I am very, very proud of all the people in this room and everybody throughout the wing who has worked hard to help get the recognition for our World War II era veterans of CAP. In 2011 and 2012, we tried to get it, and we failed. We came up short on the number of co-sponsors in the House by about 70 people. At that time, the California wing had only received 12 co-sponsors in 2 years. The bills were reintroduced this last February, and I'm pleased to say that from February until early June, the California wing we have the largest congressional delegation in the nation with 55 representatives, 53 in the House and 2 in the Senate. We got all of our representation in the wing except for 3. So the names of the people behind me are all the people in the state of in the House of Representatives or the Senate who have co-sponsored the bill. And I was told by John Swain, who is our national representative, that without California we would not have made it. So we have achieved the necessary number of co-sponsors in both the House and the Senate. The bill will be taken up shortly after the first of the year, and we're hoping that by the time we all go to Washington in end of February, that the bills will have passed both the House, well, it's already passed the Senate, the bill will have passed the House, and the President will sign it. A few years ago, we had Lieutenant Colonel Carl Morrison, had joined us as our legislative liaison, our legislative officer, and he and his team then were very instrumental in helping us get the California CAP Employment Act passed. That kind of began our involvement with the legislative bodies of both the federal and the state level. It's very important, especially in today's environment where we've got limited dollars, that we create those relationships with those people who have influence over those budgetary areas. In the last year, we have made so many contacts, starting with our winter meeting in DC. California sent one of the largest contingents of members to DC to talk to our legislators on Capitol Hill. We had 6 people on the primary team, along with Colonel Nelson, who was escorting cadets. So 7 senior members as well as cadets, and we attended 32 meetings on the Capitol Hill in one day. And I truly believe that those 32 meetings paid off with that slide that I showed you previously. In this photograph, we see Buck McEwen with our cadets. I believe this is from Group 6, if I remember correctly. Buck McEwen is the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, a very important person to CAP. Over the last year, squadrons have been meeting in their legislators' offices. Here we have Congressman Anna Eshoo, and who was also one of our co-sponsors. And then also in the lower left-hand corner, we did a congressional orientation ride with the freshman Congressman Tony Cardenas, so he can see firsthand what we do in CAP. Congressman Cardenas is very important to us because in his congressional district in Los Angeles, wing headquarters is 3 squadrons and 2 corporate aircraft, all within his congressional district. And as I mentioned before, a few years ago we had a legislative squadron in the California wing, and due to term limits, it faded away because the person who we had in there timed out. I'm pleased to say that through the work of Lieutenant Colonel Morrison and Lieutenant Mark Kempton, who is also in our legislative area, that we have resurrected the California Legislative Squadron, and now Major California State Senator and now Major Marty Block is the new squadron commander, and he brought along with him one of his aides, and he is Captain Kevin Powers, and we're going to be working with him to really lobby Sacramento on behalf of the California wing. So last year, I reserved this portion of the presentation to talk a little bit about why we do what we do. And I shared with you a couple examples of some members who had done some extraordinary things. And while I believe that there were members that did extraordinary things this year, I wanted to instead share this quote. And because I saw it a few months ago, and I truly believe that is the reason why we do what we do. Now, we've given some awards away today to some very deserving members. I'm tired, man. Deserving. You're going to edit that out, right? And we are going to give some more awards to some deserving members tonight at the banquet. And as I've said many times before, I'd like to give every one of you an award, but unfortunately that's not possible. So please accept my thank you for everything that you do for the California wing. I want to thank everybody who sent in photos for this presentation. I'm sorry I wasn't able to use all of them, but in going through them, this one photograph really resonated with me. It was sent in by Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Scott, and it is from Squadron 804 in Group 6, and I thought it really epitomized the pride that we all feel when we put on the uniform of our country and when we perform our missions. So I think that the pride in this young man's face really tells the story. I continue to be proud to be your commander, and I tell anyone who will listen that I'm from the California wing. Thanks.